I don't talk much about my time at NASA, not because of any oath or patriotism or fear of the government, though maybe I should be afraid. I keep quiet because some things were never meant to be remembered, but lately, I haven't had a choice. The dreams started 6 weeks ago. They always begin the same way. I'm in the old Apollo mission control room, sitting at my console, surrounded by the low hum of machinery and the sharp click of keys. The room smells like old electronics and cold coffee. I'm monitoring the audio feed from Apollo 11, listening to the scratchy voices of Armstrong and Aldrin crackling through the static. And then, it happens. The feed goes dead. Total silence. Except this time, in the dream, the static doesn't come back. Instead, I hear a whisper. Just one word, stretched and distorted like it's crawling through a broken speaker. Watching. Then I wake up, heart racing, bed soaked in sweat. Sometimes there's a high-pitched ringing in my ears like a radio, frequency that shouldn't exist. I'm a retired systems engineer. I worked on the signal processing teams during the Apollo program. I was there the night humanity walked on the moon, or at least the night the world thought it did. People always talk about that technical glitch, the 2 minutes of silence during the live feed. We told the public it was a transmission issue, blamed it on the relay between the lunar module and the deep space network, but I was there, and I remember we cut the feed on purpose. I hadn't thought about that night in decades. I buried it, until a brown envelope arrived at my doorstep 3 nights ago. No return address, no markings, just my name, in shaky, handwritten block letters. Inside was a reel of magnetic tape, an old audio format we used in the 60s. It was labeled in faded red marker. Apollo 11, restricted, Com Channel 2, unfiltered. My hands trembled when I held it. My first thought was that someone was playing a cruel prank. But something in me, something I hadn't felt since I left NASA, told me it was real. I dusted off my old reel-to-reel machine from the garage, hooked it up, and pressed play. At first, nothing but static. Then, the familiar voice of Neil. Armstrong came through, clear as I remembered it. That's one small step for man. Then silence. And then something else. Armstrong's voice returned, but it was different. Off. Shaky. Houston, do you see that? There's something out here. Then the tape warped, a shrieking noise like metal grinding inside my skull. And then another voice cut in. Not an astronaut, not human. It didn't speak words. It sounded like a language, but not one meant for vocal cords. Clicking, repeating, mechanical yet alive. I slammed the stop button. My ears rang for hours afterward. I don't know who sent me that tape, but they knew what they were doing. They wanted me to remember. They wanted me to hear it again. Since then, I've been hearing things. Not from the tape, from my house. My old radio turns on by itself at 3:15 a.m. sharp, playing static. The hallway lights flicker when I speak about the moon. And last night, I swear I heard someone breathing through my bedroom walls. Not snoring, breathing, as if something was hiding inside the wall. I know what I heard on that tape wasn't meant for us, but it was there, on the moon, watching, and now it knows I'm listening again. After I heard that voice on the tape, that thing, I couldn't sleep for 2 nights straight. I'd sit in the dark, with every light in the house on, holding the old reel like it was cursed. I wanted to destroy it, burn it, throw it in the ocean. But I couldn't. Something in me needed to know more. I dug through boxes in the attic until I found my old mission logs. They were yellowed with time, pages sticking together from years of dust and humidity. One page stood out, a classified memo stamped with a red seal. Apollo 11 Protocol 19 Delta, temporary suspension of broadcast. Reason, unknown surface anomalies. Crew instructed to switch to secondary secure frequency. Back then, only a handful of us had access to the secure frequency. I remembered the look on my supervisor's face when the crew made the switch. Pale, sweating, like he knew something. None of us did. That same night, I started seeing the man. It began as a glimpse, a silhouette standing just beyond the streetlight outside my window. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but every time I looked, he was there. Still, watching. Last night I got a better look. I woke up to the sound of my front door creaking open. I live alone. I keep that door locked, chained. I crept down the hallway with a flashlight and a rusted pipe I kept from the garage. I didn't call the police. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me knew it wouldn't matter. The front door was wide open, swaying in the wind, and standing in the driveway, under the buzzing orange glow of the street lamp, was the same figure. A man in a dark suit, tall, thin, wearing a hat like something out of the 1960s. He didn't move, didn't blink. I stepped outside, slowly, heart pounding against my ribs like it wanted to escape. I shone the flashlight toward him. That's when I saw his face, or rather, the lack of one. No eyes, no mouth, just pale skin, stretched smooth where his features should have been. And yet somehow, I knew he was smiling. I stumbled back inside, slammed the door and locked every bolt. But even then, I felt watched, as if something invisible had slipped in with me. A cold pressure against the base of my skull. I tried sleeping. In the basement. The tape still sat in the player upstairs, humming ever so faintly, even when turned off. It buzzes now, a low frequency I can feel in my teeth. And tonight, when I turned on the local news, the broadcast froze. The screen turned to static. Then, for just 1 second, I saw the surface of the moon. Not a recording, a live feed. Shadows crawling across the grey dust like insects under glass. Then a whisper through the speakers. You heard it. Now we remember. This isn't just about a cover-up. Something was left behind on the moon. Or maybe it never left at all. I don't think it ever stopped watching us. And now it wants to be heard again. After that night, I stopped leaving the house. I unplugged the landline, disconnected the Wi-Fi, taped the camera on my laptop. But none of it helped. The whispers kept coming. Not from outside, from inside. Inside the walls, inside my head. Every time I tried to sleep, I'd hear them. A chorus of voices, layered and distorted, like they were speaking through water. They didn't speak English. But I understood them. Not the words, the intent. They were watching me, studying me, waiting. I needed answers. So I drove out to visit an old colleague from my days at NASA, Dr. Peter Lang. He lived in a retirement home 2 hours from me, a brilliant mind once in charge of deep space communications. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. When I arrived, the nurse gave me a strange look. Dr. Lang doesn't speak anymore, she said. Hasn't in years, just stares out the window all day. She let me into his room. He was sitting in a chair, back straight, eyes wide open, staring blankly at the horizon. I spoke his name. No response. Then I whispered, Project Argus, frequency Delta, the shadows on the moon. He blinked. Once, and then, without moving his lips, I heard his voice in my head, clear as day. They showed me the shapes in the dust, the things beneath, the craters. We were never alone. I stumbled back, nauseous. My ears rang with high-pitched static. I begged him to tell me more. His body trembled, but his eyes never moved. Then he whispered aloud, the only words I heard him speak that day. You should not have listened to the tape. I left in a panic, and when I returned home, I found a note slipped under my door. No name, no return address. It read, there are 11 of us who heard it. 3 are dead. 4 institutionalized. 2 disappeared. I am the last. And now you are not alone. The tape had done something to me, activated something, a part of my brain that wasn't supposed to be touched. I started seeing them, the silent ones, They don't walk. They glide. Their shadows move against light. Their faces are smooth, but their eyes, they're inside your head, whispering. I've taken apart the reel, smashed the recorder, even tried burning the fragments. They still speak. And last night, I woke up in the middle of the living room, standing. The front door was wide open, and in my hand was moon dust, real, sterile, fine as silk, and ice cold to the touch. I knew I couldn't stay home anymore. The shadows followed me from room to room. The lights flickered even when the power was off. I'd look at the clock, and hours had passed that I couldn't remember. I found scratches on my arms I couldn't explain, and recordings on my phone of voices I never heard until I played them back. I needed help, but not from the police, not from doctors. I needed them, the people who started this, Project Argus. I drove to a black site I remembered from years ago, a decommissioned facility in Langley, Virginia. It was buried beneath a federal records building. Most had forgotten it ever existed, but I hadn't. I used an old access card I kept hidden in my garage, never expecting it would still work. To my surprise, it beeped green. The elevator descended farther than I remembered. When the doors opened, I stepped into a corridor humming with sterile light. Security cameras tracked my every move. At the end of the hallway, a woman in a black suit stood waiting. She said my name before I could speak. "We've been expecting you." I asked her what Project Argus really was, what they found on the moon, why the tape existed, why it spoke to me. She led me into a cold, windowless briefing room. A screen flickered on. What I saw, I wish I could forget. It was footage, unedited, from Apollo 11. Not the landing, not the flag. It was what came after. The camera, still rolling, captured a figure behind the rocks, humanoid but distorted. Its limbs were too long. Its body moved like liquid in zero gravity. Armstrong's voice, off camera, said something like, "They're watching us. They're not human. I repeat, not human." The signal cut to static. Then the woman said, almost casually, "It wasn't the Soviets we were afraid of. It was them." I asked her who they were. She paused, as if searching for the right word. "Sentinels," she said. "They were there before us, and we think they're still there. But the worst part," she leaned forward, whispering, "we think some of them came back." I felt the air leave my lungs. I asked her if I was infected. She didn't answer. Instead, she handed me a small vial. Inside was something black and thick, like liquid obsidian. It moved when I looked away, as if it noticed me. She told me to inject it into my temple if the voices became too strong. "Don't let them inside completely," she said. I asked if that would kill me. She replied, "Hopefully." Then she stood up and said the meeting was over. When I returned to my car, there was a new scratch along the passenger side, as if something with claws had been waiting for me. And when I started the engine, the radio turned on by itself, and the voice that came through was mine, screaming. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back on the lunar surface, only it wasn't a dream. I could feel the dust under my boots. I could hear the silence, and it had weight. And beyond that silence, something was whispering. Not in English, not in any language I'd ever heard, but I understood. I saw flashes of memory that didn't belong to me. Standing on the moon, reaching for something hidden beneath the rocks, screaming through a helmet with no sound, being watched from above and below. When I woke up, my nose was bleeding. My eyes burned, and my thoughts felt fragmented, like static had taken root in my skull. I remembered the vial the woman had given me. It was still in my pocket. The black liquid inside churned like it was alive. I sat in the bathroom for an hour, holding the syringe to my temple, trying to find the courage. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I thought of every warning they gave us at NASA, every phrase they scrubbed from the tapes, every report marked classified. This wasn't just about me anymore. Whatever had come back, it was spreading through sound, through thought, through memory. They didn't follow the rules of reality as we understood it. They were rewriting them. At 3:33 a.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. There was no one there, just the shadow of a figure standing under the street lamp. Across the road, impossibly still, impossibly thin, its head tilted slowly like it knew I was watching. My phone buzzed on the sink. Incoming transmission. No number. Just static, I answered, and my voice came through, but not me now. It was me on the moon, terrified, begging. They never left, it said. They're using us. They're already inside. I dropped the phone. The sound continued even without the speaker, echoing through the walls, through my bones. I fell to the floor, convulsing, and then it stopped. Everything went silent. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in my bathroom. I was standing in the middle of a field under an impossible sky. Above me hung a pale, broken moon, cracked like glass, oozing black fluid into the stars. I screamed, and the scream didn't come from my mouth. It came from all around me, like a transmission looping through space and time. When I finally came to, I was lying on the floor of my home, the morning sun creeping in through the windows, but something was different. There were no shadows anywhere, not under the table, not beneath my feet, as if the light had no power anymore. The syringe was still in my hand, but the vial was empty. I never injected it. Someone or something had taken it from me. I don't know how long I have left before they take me completely. Can still hear the transmission. Constant, buried under the hum of electronics, the buzz of light bulbs, the silence of empty rooms. If you're reading this, you probably don't believe me. I wouldn't either. But the moon is watching, and it's remembering, because the voices aren't from space, they're from us, from what we were before we came here.